Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. So today I was working on planting some stuff in the garden, and it really got me thinking about just how much EDS, Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, really truly affects how we are planning and plotting out our homestead. For those of you that are new here, me and my wife Tracy, back in April of 2022, we lived in town. We had about a quarter of an acre of land, and we homesteaded there, but we decided that we really had a desire in our hearts to do it on a much larger scale and have more animals than the ones we were illegally raising in our garage, like our chickens and our meat rabbits. So that set us off on a journey of selling our house, taking a huge leap of faith in moving into a camper with our 15-year-old son. He's now 16. But so we basically did all that just to follow our dreams. But as we've been plotting out and planning and arranging this homestead that we got, we were able to use the proceeds of selling our house to buy a major fixer-upper that has been extremely neglected for many, many, many years. We were told on paper that it was not lived in since June of 2022, but after talking to the neighbors, it hasn't been lived in for years, which makes a lot more sense as to why everything is so behind on maintenance and things of that nature. But anyways, so that's a little bit of backstory about us. Everything that we try to do is very holistic and very natural and done in ways that are very much in tune with nature. But so anyways, so I was thinking as I was planting a gazillion pepper plants, and my knees were like screaming at me because they hurt so bad from me squatting down for so long, just how much like our homesteading really is affected by my joint condition. I am 31 years old, and I have to wear ankle braces because of Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. That is a condition that is a genetic condition that causes all of my tendons and ligaments and my cartilage to be made basically of inferior materials. So basically I fall apart at the seams. It's a lot of times it can be very debilitating, and I deal with a lot of chronic pain, and basically I'm like a klutz on steroids, pretty much. Like my muscles are very strong, so I'm able to power through a lot of different things, but my joints are basically just really wonky and screwy, and I suffer a lot of dislocations and partial dislocations on a daily basis. So it can be very painful. And basically anybody that's ever seen my knees in real life, they say that I have the knees of an old man, because they're very deformed. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. So with this homestead, I realized that literally as we're plotting and planning every piece of it, I'm constantly thinking about how even at 31, I am hit with this constant realization that the reality that I live in is that I most likely will be wheelchair bound by the time I'm like in my 50s or 60s, or even sooner than that, which is a very, very hard reality. It's a bitter pill to swallow for a lot of people that do have Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. I've been blessed with basically trauma-induced disassociation from a lot of my pain, so I'm allowed to push. My mind allows me to push through a lot of my body's pain, but it causes a lot of irreversible joint damage. But I am able to get a lot of things done that a lot of people are not able to do. And I'm not trying to sound like an ableist or anything of the sort, but I pay for it. I definitely do. The way that my joints pop and grind, it is not a pretty sight, and I do not recommend it. But sometimes when things need done, they just need done. But anyways, so how we have really planned this homestead out to basically be elderly friendly. I kind of consider my joints like those of somebody that are in like their 70s. So what we've done with plotting out this garden is that we've actually made extremely long, wide walkways. So this area that is grassy here, that is about 2.5, 3 feet wide of grass walkway. So then that way I don't have to worry about weeding walkways. I can just use our self-propelled push mower to push mow through the walkways. And then if it comes down to I end up needing mobility devices like my knee scooter, or God forbid I end up needing a wheelchair at some point, I will be able to still get it through. The other thing that we do is the largest animal that we raise is Nigerian dwarf goats, and our heaviest goat, he's a little overweight, we call him a fat ass, to be honest. He's kind of a bully with food. Like, he'll push everybody out of the way to get more food. That's why Lucky has earned that name. But he weighs probably like 55 pounds. So, and a bag of feed for the animals is 50 pounds. So, with the goats, you don't have to carry him that often. Although he really likes to be carried, I don't carry him. I just tell him to come on, and I put him on a leash, and I walk him around to get exercise. But so that is the biggest animal that we have, is something that only weighs probably about 55 pounds. Everything else that we do very much is keeping things very small. We did try raising Kuni pigs, which is like the smallest breed of pigs that is known to be raised for meat. And honestly, it was really hard. They broke out of the fence a few different times and broke into our goats area. And I essentially had to use my body to act as a blockade to keep the pigs from eating all the goat food and harming the goats. And that was the day that we decided we didn't want to raise pigs anymore. So, to be quite honest, I butchered them. And that was very difficult. They were heavy. They probably only weighed, like 170 pounds or something like that. But when you're alone, like that's a lot to try to move, even if you don't have messed up joints. But yeah, like, it's kind of hard knowing that one day you're not going to be able to do all the things that you love, because this lifestyle is one that, we've traded pretty much every single piece of happiness and joy and sacrificed all of that and comfort. The biggest thing we sacrificed was our comfort, just to chase after this dream of living a more self-sufficient life on a larger scale and being able to have more animals and to be able to have, a little bit of land to stretch out on and grow more fruit trees and a larger garden and things of that nature. But it's hard. So something that I adapted to this year, like I used to every year grow potatoes, and we grew some corn, like for popcorn and to feed the animals, and we also grew some sorghum. But this year we decided that we weren't doing that anymore, that it really wasn't worth our effort to do it. And growing potatoes, it is a lot of very hard manual labor, where you got to just keep hilling the rows and doing all this stuff, and it's a doozy. And I told my wife, I said, I don't want to do taters anymore. Like, it's kind of a fun process to dig them back up, but it's too hard on my body. Like, I can't do it anymore. And I used to really like doing the bush beans, but squatting down for any length of time, it hurts. Even just a few minutes, like, it hurts bad. In my body, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, why don't you just take some pain medicine? That condition, you could probably get on some pain meds. That's the problem. I have other conditions that make it so pain medicine is not a viable option. I had to have my ankle totally reconstructed without any pain medicine at all, except for the first 2 days, because pain pills make me feel like I'm dying. Like, they drop my blood pressure. I can't be left alone because I pass out constantly. Having comorbidities with the Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, sometimes those are worse than the actual joint condition. So basically I'm pretty much on my own. Like, I get Advil and ice and rest. That's about it. And we make our own wine, so that way I can afford to drink when I need to, so that way I have some pain relief. And I'm not trying to say this as a sob story, but I'm just saying, like, that I have a lot of cards stacked against me, and I'm still doing a lot of things just to follow my own desires. But it is definitely hard. But one of the things that we are doing with our garden, as you can see, there's like these weird strips that are tilled. That is something that I definitely overextended myself to work on tilling. I also had my stepson. He helped do some of the larger areas right here, and then there's a big T section down here that I had him do. But all the smaller areas, I did all that. But all of these, as we're here for longer, as the seasons progress, are transitioning into no-till beds. Where we lived at in town, I had actually successfully made it so that way they were mounded up, so I didn't have to squat as low, and they were really, really thriving, functional no-till beds, so I didn't have to till anymore. But, that was not in our cards to stay there. We tried for a long time to stay and be content, but we wanted goats. and more space. Like that's what it came down to, was the love of goats. But so as we are here for longer, my plan is to continually pile up more manure. There's some spent hay and some goat manure right now on this bed here. And as time goes on, as we clean out the barn more often and stuff, we've only lived here for a month, so not that much poo yet. We would just continuously keep basically rising up the soil to meet my knees. So everything eventually will be transitioned into raised beds. That's why it is in such a bizarre shape of a garden, that it's not tilled all the way. Plus it saved a lot of energy, and it's actually good for the ground to not be tilled like this. So I just kind of took it as a win-win-win for everybody involved, including my body. But yeah, everything that we do here, including the home renovations that we do, is basically all planning for being old, being disabled. And that is, like, sometimes when it hits you, it hits you like a ton of bricks when you realize that you're essentially renovating a house for an elderly person, because you know that one day you're going to be that elderly person that probably doesn't even have any gray hair yet but can't get up the steps. And that's something that's hard, to be 31 and go, I don't know at 40 what my life is going to look like. Like, I know that nobody knows what their life is going to look like, but I was talking to my wife the other day, and I told her flat out, I was like, because she's 13 years older than me, so she's 44. So she has, her own aches and pains and things like that. But I told her the other day, I said, it honestly scares me. Like, getting older honestly scares me, not from like a vanity standpoint, but like the amount of dysfunction I have with my body now, it scares me. Because I don't have any condition that is going to make it so I don't live for a super long time. My family has extremely good genetics, and most people lived close to being in their 90s or over 90 in my family on both sides. And I'm like, crap, like, if I don't start treating my body better, like, I'm screwed, honestly. And that, I don't know, kind of more of a deep subject than I wanted to get into. But it's daunting, and it's terrifying, and I hate to discuss it. I hate to admit it, that, I can't just wish it away, and I can't just will it away. Yeah. So it's just, it weighs heavy on me sometimes. Yeah. So I'm going to end this here before I start getting too deep into my own emotions and my own thoughts of my body's shortcomings and how I felt like I've been failed by my body. When my heart and my mind just want to keep trugging along. But yeah, so those are the things that we are intentionally doing to make it so that way homesteading is easier for us. So I can continue to do this life for, as long as I still have my wits about me and stuff. Yeah, so everything will eventually be raised up. We don't even grow bush beans anymore. We just grow pole beans, so that way we can use the fences as a trellis system, so I don't have to really squat down or kneel down to pick anything. But yeah, while I was planting a bunch of peppers, I was thinking about how hard it was, and how I honestly hope that next year I can either convince somebody else to plant them for me, or just have it so it's more of a raised bed type of scenario, so that way I'm not kneeling down on the ground. Because like when you first till a garden bed, I'll show you guys, like, here's the peppers here, and then here's the garden bed, and then up here is the ground. So it is honestly, it's recessed from where I have to sit at. So it's rough. But yeah, I don't want to just sit here and complain and whine and moan about everything and gripe. There's enough people in the world that do a lot of that stuff for me, so I don't have to really do that. I try to stick on the more positive sides of things. But yeah, so I just figured I'd give you guys some honest to goodness feedback of what it's really like. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to it. I've rested my legs long enough that I can go plant the rest of our peppers. I have a massive amount of hot peppers to plant, because capsaicin is something, which is a chemical that's in hot peppers, is what makes them hot. It actually is a really good anti-inflammatory. So I actually consume a massive amount of spicy foods and hot peppers. My body craves it all the time. to just basically help with inflammation. So it does actually do a lot of pain relief, especially for the joints that already have a lot of osteoarthritis in them. So it's definitely part medicinal, part delicious for me. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying my content, please give this video a thumbs up, share it on social media, and if you have not already, please consider subscribing to our channel to help us grow. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.